to make them feel comfortable, to empower them during this whole interview process, because from the get-go, we really want them to be able to see that we value their strengths, their skills, and their network as well. But that was really exciting to see her land a really cool job. And then she had another career pivot as well. And through this whole time, she's really owned her entire developmental process, professionally, personally, everything, helping others be seen, helping their voice be valued. And IT, or information technology, through our main gig for a while was surveying software. We have all this data for surveys from everyone, and we're going through now and we're finding out customer sentiment, or the sentiment or emotion behind the survey responses.
Nate's philosophy is centered around the idea that everyone has a star inside them. His passion is to place people in positions where their stars can shine. Since the last 3 years, he has coached over 700 plus students, helped them target resumes, helped them allowed to write relevant cover letters, empowered interview strategies, and connected employees with their dream companies, which is a lot, especially because he is living for other people, which is something that's amazing. He has been able to personalize the recruitment process based on the people that are searching for jobs. So let's welcome Nate on 10 Minutes of Hiring Wisdom, where he will tell us about what he's learned along the way, what we can learn from his learnings, and if he has any tips for job seekers out there. Hi, Nate. How are you doing today?
Good, Manal. Thanks for having me on. I'm great.
Of course. So, Nate, can you tell us about where you work and what your position is within the company?
For sure. I work as a technical recruiting specialist at Qualtrics.
Okay. So, Nate, because you've been in the hiring space for quite a while, you specifically mentioned that you tend to personalize the hiring experience based on the field of the candidate. So can you elaborate a little more on that? Just because I think that's super important, because there are different niches involved in the workforce today. There's a lot of people interviewing for different positions. So how do you tend to do that?
That's a great question. Personally, and this is something that I really enjoy that my team does as well here at Qualtrics, is that the candidate is more than just a number. They're a person. And so really reaching into, if we're sourcing for candidates, really reaching in and saying, okay, maybe we could connect them with someone at our company who maybe went to the same school as them, or studied something similar, or even on their interviewing loops, put someone on there that maybe they know, or maybe they had went to the same school or something like that. Really personalizing them to make them feel comfortable, to empower them during this whole interview process, because from the get-go, we really want them to be able to see that we value their strengths, their skills, and their network as well.
Ooh, I love that. I think that's super important, just because I think the hiring process actually gives the candidates a glimpse of the company, what it would be like working for the company. So because you make such a personalized approach, I think it would be easier for the candidate to be like, okay, I feel welcome. I feel like I'm a part of this company. So the transition would be much smoother. And just a funny story, when I started this podcast, I actually started it by interviewing my uncle. And this podcast is supposed to be 10 minutes. I messed up over 10 times and the recording took place for an hour. But then I got used to it and I was like, okay, I can do this. So then I started interviewing more people. So thank you for sharing that, Nate. So I think, Nate, a follow-up question for that would be, you've coached over 700 plus students, which is absolutely amazing. Of course, each of the students that you coached would have a different experience, a different story. But I would love to understand from your experience, what was your favorite coaching story so far?
Wow. I'd say my favorite coaching story was one of my friends came to me and we were working together on, she wanted to go to med school, and that was her thing. And so we started going and researching those things, and she started to really look inside herself and say, is this something that aligns with my values, my purpose, what I see for myself in my life? And it turns out that it didn't. And so there were a couple of career changes that she went through. She stopped going the pre-med route, and she went into consulting. She went into business. She graduated, took a job at Vanguard down in Arizona. And that was really exciting to see her land a really cool job. And then she had another career pivot as well. And through this whole time, she's really owned her entire developmental process, professionally, personally, everything. And it's been really cool to see her use her strengths and find her innate strengths within herself and lean into that and find a place that really values that for her. And now she is pre-law. as well, and she's going to take the LSAT. And so she's had a lot of pivots, but she really has owned the entire process. And I think that's one of my favorite coaching stories, you could say.
Wow, that's amazing. I think usually for us, it's the hardest part is to take the first step, but then pivoting throughout the journey and just being stuck because you're like, okay, where do I go from there? Can I backtrack? Can I change my career? Because I've already taken that step. But considering she made so many transitions and she owned up to her own journey is something that's super inspiring. And I think a lot of people these days are hard to take that first step, but she managed to do so well. And here she is taking her LSAT for law school. That's absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for sharing that, Nate. I think, Nate, this would be specific to your company. So one of the research done by your company specifically showed that IT can be a key driver for employee engagement. Employees who said that the technology is enabling productivity by 158% more for specifically your company. So we'd love to understand, how does that help your company? How does it help in more employee engagement? How does it help in retaining more of your employees, just from your personal experience?
Yeah, this is something that's very important. And what Qualtrics is really founded on is helping others be seen, helping their voice be valued. And IT, or information technology, through our main gig for a while was surveying software. And so we have really done well work in the surveying software realm, but we've gone into this new natural language processing realm, which, I mean, really, we have all this data for surveys from everyone, and we're going through now and we're finding out customer sentiment, or the sentiment or emotion behind the survey responses, to give companies further knowledge of, okay, if something is really bothering an employee, a customer, anything, it'll pop up and it'll go to the top and give an alert, so that companies can give greater service to their employees, their customers, to other brand stakeholders as well. And I think personally, I really enjoy that because it's helping bridge experience gaps as well, of okay, this is we're giving this level of an experience, even though the customer thinks it's not really that great. We're helping to bridge those gaps, to bring them together, to really, go anywhere, and the sky's the limit at that point.
I love that. I think for the longest time, it was whether AI can personalize, whether AI can empathize with people. But I think a recent project by Qualtrics has been that they're including AI to understand what kind of emotions people are facing, especially when it comes to customer service, so that they can be responded in a way which would help them maximize their productivity. So I would love to understand, because Qualtrics is taking on this new project, is your company hiring? What kind of positions are you looking for, so that if people are applying, they know what to seek for?
That's a very good question. I can tell you've done this a lot. This is great. Let's see. Yeah. Right now, we are hiring certain positions pretty heavily, specifically within the sales development representatives, account executives. We're hiring those. We're also hiring heavily in customer success as well. We're hiring some software developers as well. And we're really focusing on some certain ones to bring us over into the new year, and to really, hit our goals for the year. And yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, and Nate, that
Perfect.
pretty much sums up the conversation. Thank you so much for coming on the show, for sharing about your wonderful journey, how you managed to coach over 700 plus students, the impact that you've made within your current company, and what purpose and passion means to you. Thank you so much.